Aloha, it's Kim Julen again with Finding Your Fiji, and this is video number 3 in the Removing Your Blocks to Flow series. If you missed the first 2 videos, those are linked below. The first one was on 7 things that are blocking your flow, and the second one was how to clear your blocks. I think it's helpful to watch those before you watch this one so that you can get the most out of this, having cleared some of those blocks before you dive into balancing things with the elements. So today we are going to be looking at the 5 Feng Shui elements of earth, metal, water, wood, and fire. And we're going to see how they can help you create even more flow in your lives with a particular focus on water. And then make sure that you join the masterclass. So I've got a masterclass that's happening on 2 different dates, May 15th or May 22nd, same class. You can choose either one of those, and you do need to register for that, though. That's not something that's going to be just a video on my YouTube channel here. You will have to register for that. It will be recorded, so if you can't make it live, no worries. I will send you the recording afterward as long as you register for one of the sessions. So, are you ready to play with element energy? I'm embodying the elements today with the shirt that I have on. I don't know if you can see, but there is what looks like gold in here. That would be the earth energy. I have some black, which is the water energy. White is the metal energy. And then I've got a little bit of paler blue is kind of wood energy. And these earrings also have that paler blue on them. And then I've got the pattern on this shirt, if you can see, is kind of a animal pattern, and animal energy is fire. So that brings in the element of fire. So I'm kind of embodying all the elements. I chose this shirt in particular for today's session for that. So I want to talk first about why the elements are so powerful and some of their qualities. In Feng Shui, we use nature as a model for balance, and the 5 elements are all represented in nature. If you go outside anywhere, you're going to see them, right? And when we use these elements, we're connecting more deeply with the nature of all things, and it's a very gentle and easy way to create balance and to create flow. Each element has an energy and is represented by a color, shape, and material. Starting with the earth element, the earth energy is very grounding, and it's represented by the color yellow or beige, brown, peach, coral. It's also represented by the shape of a square. And the material is earthly material, things like rocks, soil, ceramics, that type of thing that's made from the earth. And then your metal element, the color for metal is white or gray. It can also be silver. It can also be metal type colors like golds or pastels. And the shape for metal is round or oval, or even like a half moon shape, a half circle shape can also be metal energy. And then the material represented for metal is, of course, actual metal, and then things that are shiny, because that represents that metal energy. And then water is represented by dark blues or navy blues or black. The shape is more of an undulating shape or a flowy shape. And then the material is physical water. So that can be pictures of water. It can be actual water, like as in a fountain. And also glass and mirrors represent water as well. And then our wood element is represented by the color green, but also blue greens or turquoise or aqua. That's why I was saying my little earrings that are kind of a turquoise or aqua color is a representative of wood. And then the shape for wood is a columnar shape. So if you think of like a tree, it's long and narrow, right? Then the material for wood is, of course, actual wood, but can also be plants. and trees. And then our last element is fire. And fire is represented by the color red, but also purples and pinks and magentas and oranges and vibrant colors. Anything that has a vibrant color or a pattern, that would be fire energy. The shape for fire is triangular. So triangular shapes represent fire, or things that are pointy can sometimes represent fire as well. And then the material, of course, is fire. And that can include actual fireplaces, candles, lights, electricity are considered fire as well. Fire energy is about passion or action. Wood energy is about growth. Water energy is about flow. Metal energy brings clarity. And then, of course, the earth is that grounding energy. Each area of your home and life also has an associated element, and the elements are represented as well in the season. So, for example, winter is considered the season of water, right? It's sort of that going within time, that cocooning time. We also have the elements represented by the planets, our body organs, flavors, actually, and as emotions. And the 5 elements also have an ability to impact each other. And there is what we call in Feng Shui a creative and a destructive cycle. Because the elements impact each other, that is how we can use them to help create balance when there is an overabundance of an element or a lack of an element, either within your space or within you. The green arrows represent the creative cycle, and the red arrows are representing the destructive cycles. In the creative cycle, when we start with Earth, Earth creates metal. When you think of metals such as gold and silver, those come from the earth. Iron ore comes from the earth. So Earth is creating that metal. Metal creates water. When metal gets cold, it creates condensation on the outside of it, which makes water. And then water creates wood. And this one's pretty simple because whenever we water plants or trees, it helps them grow. And then wood creates fire. And of course, when we're building a fire, we do need wood to create that fire. So wood creates fire. And then fire creates earth. And I always think of the Lion King when I think of this, because after the big fire in the Lion King, the earth was renewed, right? When there's fire, it renews the earth. And then the destructive cycle can also be helpful because sometimes we have too much of something and we need to calm it down, right? And so starting again with Earth, Earth in the destructive cycle destroys water. Earth dams up water, it stops its flow. And then metal destroys wood. A metal axe cutting through wood, that would destroy the wood. Water destroys fire. Of course, we put water on fires to put them out. And then wood destroys earth. So if you can think about a piece of wood actually piercing the earth. And then fire destroys metal because fire will actually melt metal, right? So it destroys that. There are a number of different ways that we can use the 5 elements to create balance and flow. We can use them to cure imbalances in the home. So in Feng Shui, we often use the elements to either enhance or remedy other elements which are out of balance, which means there might be either too much or too little of an element. And if you've ever been in a room like a doctor's office where it's just stark white, that can feel uncomfortable, right? That's too much metal energy, all that white and nothing to break it up. There's too much metal and it can make us feel uncomfortable. Many modern day doctor's offices now have paintings in them, or they have pictures that are colorful, or they might even have other colors represented in the space that helps people feel a little bit calmer when they're in that space. I notice at my dentist's office, they actually have pictures on the ceiling because, you're laying back most of the time. And so there's something for you to visually look at on the ceiling there as well. Another example of imbalanced elements is a client of mine who actually lived in Minneapolis on the top floor of a large condo building. And the building had amazing views of the Mississippi River and also had several highways nearby. And my client was complaining of feeling ungrounded, having difficulty focusing since he lived there, and his business just wasn't growing as he expected. I recommended strong elements of earth to help ground him and ground the energy there, right? And then also wood elements to help counteract that feeling of movement with the highway and so much water. That's a lot of movement energy. And the wood also helps promote business growth. His decorating mostly consisted of metal elements of white and off-white and gray furniture. And so we definitely didn't need to add any more of that. But he also needed to add fire energy to motivate him, to give him that passion and that desire to move and to do things. So that's just an example of how we can use the elements in a home to balance them. We also use elements in decorating, with painting, the different colors, pillows, accessories, shapes and material and color of furniture is something that we use elements for in Feng Shui. Also manifesting. I actually have in my Love Your Life program a signature process called the 5 element manifestation method. Super powerful and also very fun to use. So that's something that I do with the elements. You can also determine your identity with the elements. There are 5 different identities: the peacemaker, the artist or the alchemist, the philosopher, the commander or the pioneer, and the lover or the wizard. So that's another way to use the elements. Each area of the Bagua correlates with an area of your life and also an element. You'll notice if you look at the wealth area in this top left corner, that the wood element is what supports wealth, right? So if you happen to have a bathroom in your wealth corner, which I know from experience is challenging, you do not want to add more water. You want to add wood to have that water feed that wood, right? So you want to add the wood element because that's the element associated with wealth, and the water can feed that wood, which will help improve your wealth. And then partnership is supported by the element of earth and so on. That's kind of how that works. You can also create more income and opportunities using the elements. And we love having that representation of flow by your front door. So adding a fountain by your front door, whether it's inside or outside, is often very beneficial for your finances. One thing I want to caution you about is when you have a fountain, particularly those outside, you want that fountain to flow towards the house so that money is coming towards you and not away from you. If it's inside, I like the fountain flow to go towards the main part of the house, right? It's okay if you have a fountain that, goes up, that's all right because it's not flowing in one direction or another. So that one is okay. But if it is flowing in a particular direction, you want it to flow towards the house or towards the main part of the house, right? Okay. The other thing that I like to use the elements for is balancing emotions. And this is really interesting because we don't often think of the elements as associated with emotions, but I'm going to look at the element of water as an example. And you can determine as I go through this if you are emotionally balanced with water element, or if you have too much or too little water. With the water element in balance, you will feel comfortable being alone. You will be a visionary, wise, a thinker. You'll be committed, imaginative, faithful, a survivor, and you'll have that ability to go within and also that ability to meditate, right? If you have too much of the element of water, you might be fearful. You could feel overwhelmed. You might be remote or forlorn or paranoid. You might feel isolated or be drowning in yourself. If you have too little water, you may have a narrow vision, almost like you have blinders on, or you might be unable to perform. So what do we do about this? We want to adjust this water energy. If you're not in balance, you want to adjust it. If you're in balance, you don't need to do these things, right? If you have too little water, you want to adjust for that dynamic water. You want to reach out. One of the things that you can do is to greet one new person a day for 27 days. And you don't make any requests of these people or complain to these people, nothing like that. You're just greeting them, just saying hello. And also visualizing an appropriate level of flowing water. And then we like to use the 6 true words, repeating that 9 times a day. And that would be for the 27 days. And you repeat Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Those are the 6 true words. And another possibility for this, if you have too little water, is to wear more water representative clothing, loose, flowy clothing in dark colors like black or navy blue, or perhaps even dangling or glass jewelry can be something that will help boost your water energy. What if you have too much water? If you already have too much water, we want to adjust for the still water. And that would mean spending some time in stillness, in reflecting and being quiet, journaling, or just being with your thoughts, or wearing wood or earth elements. And the reason I say that is because the element of wood gives the water something to do. So because water feeds wood in that creative cycle, the wood will give that water something to do. Or earth, which in the destructive cycle destroys water, dams it up, stops it. And so that earth element would be a way to balance it if you have too much water energy. So if you'd like to continue your journey removing your blocks to flow, please join me for my masterclass. This is happening in 2 different dates, May 15th and May 22nd. It is being recorded, but you do need to register in order to get the recording. I'll got a link to that down below, and I hope to see you there. So much love and aloha.